Now I want to invite Professor Hadi Vakili from the Institute for Humanities and Cultural Studies of Iran. He will be our first speaker. And the title of his talk is How Can One Solve the Problem of the Twofold Existence of God Based on Fuzzy Logic? Thank you very much, Professor Hadi.
Thank you very much. Do you have my voice?
Yes, we hear you very clearly.
Can I start?
Yes, you are not going to
Yes.
use any slide.
Okay.
Or,
Good afternoon to the excellencies, respected professors and colleagues. At this great occasion, I would like to speak on the friendship. As you all know that we are gathered today on the International Logics Day, and I want to extend my warm greetings to everyone present here. I feel extremely very good to have been given this big opportunity of delivering a speech. I have especially selected this topic to keep my views in front of you about the twofold existence of God and fuzzy logic, specifically one of its important components, which is denying the principle of excluded middle, and then refers to the solution of the problem. I mean, explanation of the twofold existence of God based on denying that principle. I will first explain a few main concepts, including the two-dimensional existence of God and one of the important principles of fuzzy logic. Based on that, I will then explain the solution proposed by the proponents of fuzzy logic to solve this problem. It is important to note that I will first consider the views of Muslim mystics, especially Ibn al-Arabi, and then have a look to Western scholars like Stace and Otto here to explain this argument. Existence of God is the first of my title. According to Muslim mystics, the God of the heaven is also the God of earth. While he is beyond the earth, but he is present within the beings and is with them. The first feature is called transcendence and purification, and the second feature is called embodiment and manifestation. According to one of the most famous Muslim mystics, Ibn al-Arabi, the simple essence of God is the same as all beings and yet is something other than them. Distinction and similarity between God and the world, or what I would refer to as the one in many, and vice versa. When Ibn al-Arabi speaks about the essence of God, he has in view God's incomparability. In this respect, there is little one can say about God except to negate the attributes of created things from him. Nevertheless, he, as the one and unit essence, reveals himself to others, I mean the many, and gains their attributes. So, we face God as existed in himself, without many other than God, and in the things within the many other than God. Based on this special view, God is in the world and in the same time is not within it, and the world is He and not He. The fact that God has these two contradictory attributes does not seem to be compatible with Aristotle's classical logic. We know that there are three important fundamental laws in Aristotle's logic, which are the principle of identity, the principle of contradiction, and the principle of excluded middle. These are all fundamental principles of thought, and truth or falsity of which is derived from the truth or falsity of the others. This viewpoint gives rise to some questions as follows. Can we deny these principles and are they fundamental? According to these principles, especially the second and the third of them, Aristotelian logic, which is also called two-valued logic, does not permit two things, but to be only this or that. I mean, anything can only have this or that feature, but it cannot have both contradictory features at the same time. Now, either the view of the mystics must be discarded or justified, or one must abandon Aristotle's logic and turn to a kind of logic that can be the basis for this mystical view. This new logic cannot be two-valued or double-valued, but must be multi-valued in order to be able to say both this and that instead of saying this or that. One of the most popular multi-value logics is fuzzy logic. Fuzzy logic, with being logic of this and that, by abandoning the principle of contradiction and the principle of excluded middle, allows something to have two contradictory attributes at the same time in a boundary condition. Therefore, when we speak of God, we can simultaneously consider him to have attributes that are contradictory and acknowledge his existence with two contradictory dimensions. Before Ibn al-Arabi, both in the Islamic tradition and in our mystical and philosophical traditions, both Eastern and Western, we are faced with this theory and, of course, with the interpretation of pantheism and panentheism, or, as in Islamic mysticism, the oneness of being. Among different meanings of unity of God, the personal unity of existence of God is the one that considered by mystics as a place of conflict. Unity in this case is considered as true unity. It means that existence is one and unique from the point of view of truth, and sense and its manifestations are only the appearance or existence of real existence. From dualism and monotheism to the unity of existence. Now, to clarify the position of the discussion, I will present Stas's view as an interpretation of existence. Two features that highlight this view in the present article are first, his critical interpretation of dualism and monotheism in favor of the theory of unity of existence. And secondly, the explanation of mystical experience in a way that blocks the flow of the logical principle of refusal of the community of contradictions in the mystical experience of unity. Our aim in this article is to show how these two features pave the way for the flow of fuzzy logic in the interpretation of mystical experiences, as well as the response of Stas's opponents, who both understand the true meaning of unity of existence and his view. Dualism. According to Stas, dualism means that the relationship between God and the world in the external mystical experience, or the relation of God to the partial soul in the state of union in the internal mystical experience, is pure distinction, or inequality. And this meaning is both in opposition to the unity of existence, in which this ratio is equality in equality, and in contrast to the monotony, which, as we will see, means that this ratio is pure uniformity without inequality. According to Stace, also dualism is a feature of the three major monotheistic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, but clearly requires the denial of the common and central feature of all mystical experiences, and contrary to the content and the spirit of all mystics, say the promise of unity. Monism. It seems that the external mystical experience is the main source of the identification of God and the world, and the internal mystical experience is the main source of the oneness of God and the individual soul in the state of union. Monotheism emphasizes that God and the world in the external experience of the unity, and God and the partial soul of the seeker in the internal experience of the unity are one and the same. The major drawback of the theory that God and the universe are the same is that it implies atheism on the one hand and academism on the other. If the theory means that there is nothing but the sum of all finite objects, including suns, stars, trees, rocks, animals, partial populations, and so on, and that God is merely another name given to this set of objects, this promise is nothing but atheism. And if this theory means that the world of finite objects doesn't exist in a way that is separate and independent from God, and the only God is real, and He is an indistinguishable unity, then this is the denial of the existence of the universal, which is another aspect of monotheism. As Stace well demonstrates, no narrative is a narrative of a monotheism that does not lead to vanity. Since neither monotheism nor dualism can be accepted, we must turn to the comprehensive, synthesis of the two, that is, the paradox of the unity of existence. It seems that the paradoxical unity of existence can be considered as the deep-set conception of the unity of existence. And supports the following two propositions. The Word is one with God, they are one. The Word is not equal to God, they are distinct. The proposition that the Word is both identical with God and distinct from Him can be called the paradoxical surface of the unity of existence. Indeed, the paradoxicality is a general feature of all types of mystical schools, and since the unity of existence, no matter how much it is presented in the guise of reason and logic, is rooted in mysticism, we should expect it to be paradoxical. According to this perspective, mystical states are inherently and not in the form beyond rational logic and perception. All mystics agree that mysticism is so much more than reason, but this alienation from the realm of reason and logic is not by itself so clearly understood, nor does it clarify anything about the relation between mysticism and reason or mysticism and logic. Unfortunately, there is no common ground on this relationship, and what is available is full of speculative and, at the same time, contradictory and possibly contradictory statements. In reality, the fact that the realm of mysticism, and mystical experience is beyond reason explicitly means that it is beyond logic and argument, and we cannot doubt the truth of their words. Any attempt to eliminate and refer to mystical surfaces by means of logical or linguistic embeddings leads to degrade mysticism to the level of common sense and deny its special feature and reduce it to the level of our daily experiences. In fact, logicality is not part of the general and of the universe, and consequently, the proposition that X, for example, X is contradictory and irrational is not itself a contradictory or irrational proposition. I should conclude, as a result, the special logic of mysticism arises that ignores the two original rules of natural logic, namely the rule of contradiction, law of contradiction, and the refusal of the height of contradictions, law of excluded middle, just as non-Euclidean geometry discards the principle of the subject of parallel lines, so mystical logic ignores the two principles of the subject, and as Rodolphe Otto is why conscientia oppositrum, identity of opposites, and dialectic conception appear. At last, in the paradoxical state of the unity of existence of God, which at the same time rules both the equality and indistinguishability of God and the world, and their inequality and distinction, a fuzzy role is based on giving the value of fuzzy majority truth to equality and denying the falsity and false value of fuzzy minority to it, and vice versa on inequality. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Hadi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So if someone has any question, if some of our speakers has any questions. All right, it seems that we don't have questions. So once again, thank you very much, Hadi.
You're welcome. Thank you.